Enemies of your success. Now, I chose 5 of them today, and I kind of laughed when I chose 5 because I'm like, wow, I can think of a lot more than 5, but let's not overwhelm everybody. Let's start with 5, and we can work on those 5, and then I think if we master these 5, we can overcome pretty much anything else. But enemies of your success, and you sit back and go, well, what in the world could that possibly be? And guys, the bottom line is the biggest enemy of your success is you. Is you. Okay? Because these 5 things that I'm going to share with you all have to do with you and you overcoming this inside yourself to help you move forward in whatever you want to get out of not only life, but certainly this business. And it's a sad truth that in life, most people give up on their dreams. And sometimes it happens really early. Like a kid is told by a teacher or a parent or a friend that their goal or their dream is just not going to be a reality. And a perfect example of that, guys, if you walk into a kindergarten classroom, and let's say there's 20 children in that classroom, and you just walk up to the front of the room and you say, okay, guys, I need somebody to come up here and draw me a horse. If there's 20 kids in that class, 20 hands will go in the air because they all think that they can draw a horse. You know why? Because nobody told them that they can't. But if you take those same 20 children in a high school classroom and you say, all right, I need somebody to come up here to the whiteboard and draw me a horse, you might get 1 or 2 kids that go, yeah, I can do that. And the other 18 are like, do not even make eye contact with the person who's asking me. There's no possible way I'm going to go up there and draw a horse. And the reason is because somewhere along the line between kindergarten and high school, they got beat up. They tried to draw something and they got ridiculed. They got laughed at. People said, you can't draw a horse. You can't draw anything. And so they threw that idea of them being able to draw a horse away. And, sometimes it even happens later in life. We lose our spark to accomplish our dreams a little bit later in life. You get tired and you just decide to throw in the towel, and it's just not worth the effort. Now, it's sad when a dream dies, and in some cases, these dreams die way, way, way too soon. I'm going to talk about that in a second. But what actually kills people's dreams? What is it? The first factor that I chose, like I said, there's probably a lot more than 5, but the first one that I chose is fear. And you guys, I talk about this a lot, don't I? I talk about fear really putting the brakes on a lot of things that we want to do. It's the fear of failure. It's the fear of being judged. Fear can absolutely be paralyzing. And when you realize it, it's like, fear is really false evidence appearing real. That's the acronym for fear. False evidence appearing real. It's like, okay, well, what exactly are you afraid of? Why are you afraid to fail? Why are you afraid of being judged? Why does fear paralyze you? It's like those are some of the things that we have to overcome. Well, number 2, another enemy of our success is failure. Because people think that failure is final, when reality, it's just the opposite. Because we've got to stop seeing failure as final, because failure is growth. Failure is development. Failure is part of the journey. It's just a stepping stone to evaluate your progress. If you don't fail every once in a while, there's no way that you can grow. So I never look at failure as final. I look at failure as a way for me to change something so that I can be better. Another enemy of our success is belief. Okay? You stop believing in yourself. Somewhere along the line, your heart got broken. It broke your confidence. It broke your self-esteem. It broke your safety. So you sit there and go, well, why did that happen? Why did you let somebody break your confidence, break your self-esteem? The fourth enemy is comfort. And that simply means that you settle. You settle for a short-term reward that satisfies your needs. And that's a killer right there, you know? And I'm going to assume that probably happens a little bit later in life. People sit back and go, it's just not worth the effort anymore. You know, my life isn't that bad. It's like, yeah, but it could be a lot better, right? And number 5, I thought number 5 was interesting here because an enemy of your success is boredom. It's boredom. And you guys, don't let Hollywood fool you. Life is not always an action thriller, all right? Success is mostly boring. You know, it's mundane. It's doing the same things over and over and over again. It's grinding it out. You know, when you guys hear me do a business presentation, it's pretty much the same way every single time, you know? And sometimes I make the mistake of trying to change things. And I'm like, why am I changing something that already works? And then it hits me. It's like, well, Steve, because you're bored with it. I'm like, well, it's not for me. This presentation's not for me. It's not for you guys either, because you hear it every single week. And you give the presentation, you know, hopefully every single day. It's for the new people. And the new people have never heard the presentation before. So why in the world would you make any changes to something that's already working? So don't think it has to be this big action thriller. Life has to be a big action thriller all the time. It's mundane. And doing the same thing over and over and over again, that creates the success. So once you find something that's successful, why would you ever stop doing it? You know, just keep grinding it out, but always have that attitude that your audience has never heard this. I remember, I don't know if I ever told you this, guys, but I remember my mom said to me one time, I don't know if my mom was just going through a bad moment, but she said, "Oh, your job is so boring. I wouldn't do what you do for anything." And I just looked at her and I said, "Why?" And she goes, "Well, don't you just say the same things, you know, over and over and over again?" And I said, "Yes, but my audience changes." And I don't know where my mom was coming from on that, but that was a lesson for me. And I thought to myself, yeah, I want to be boring. I want this thing to be boring, because when I'm boring, that means it's working. All right. And I'll take the success that comes with boring and being mundane and doing the same things over and over and over again and grinding it out. You know, every time that you do that presentation, guys, you got to pretend it's the very first time that you've done it, because I guarantee you the person that you're talking to, they don't know the difference. They don't know the difference. It's the first time that they have heard it. So don't let fear, failure, the lack of belief in yourself, you know, comfort or boredom kill your dreams. All right? And don't let them defeat you on this, you know, this heroic journey that we're on. You know, these are all enemies that need to be crushed. You know, I've said this a bunch of times, but, you know, Les Brown said that the wealthiest place in the world is the graveyard, because it's filled with ideas that have never been acted upon. And now listen, I know that we've got to be realistic a little bit. You know, if I had a goal today, if I really, really had a goal to win the U.S. Open Men's Tennis Championship, that's probably not realistic. All right? And so if I give up on that goal, is that horrible? It's like, no, it's being a little bit realistic. It's like, Steve, at your age, you would be playing against people that are far superior athletically than you are. And so that's a realistic quit, okay? But I will tell you this. In building this business, there is no good reason. There is no good reason to ever stop. There's no good reason. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you come from. I don't care what your background is. I don't care what your age is. You can succeed, because all you're doing is sharing information. And if you can get over the fear of failure and the fear of being judged And stop looking at failure as final. When somebody says no, that doesn't mean you failed. That simply just meant that the person's not interested. All right? Make sure that you believe in yourself. You guys jump on these calls every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You jump on the Zooms that we do, throughout the entire week. It's like, that's where you can get your belief level. Don't settle. Don't get comfortable. Okay? I always say your comfort zone is the most uncomfortable place to be. And don't be afraid of boredom, because boredom works. Boredom works in this business. So guys, when I talk about, enemies of your success, the biggest enemy is inside your head. And if you can overcome those 5 things, you can overcome pretty much anything. And you can be successful, especially in this business. Now, be realistic. Be realistic. I'm not going to go out there and try to win an Olympic medal in swimming or marathon at my age. At my age, I'm just being realistic at that point. And I know you guys have heard me said, nothing great has ever come from somebody who's been realistic. I know, it's time to be unrealistic. But I'm not going to go win the U.S. Men's Tennis Championship at my age. That's being realistic. But in this business, nobody has an excuse not to be successful, especially if you can overcome those 5 enemies of your success.